Hello and welcome to another Hard Reset Quick Hit. Today we will be discussing RollerCoaster Tycoon 3D for the 3DS. And Julian's been playing the game and he has a lot of thoughts on it. So Julian, why don't you get us started and basically just tell us what you think about the game so far?
Yeah, I honestly feel so strongly about this. I'm actually gonna, for the first time, I've actually write a full-on review.
Oh
Um,
shit.
but that's when you know shit got real. If I'm writing a review for it, it's either really bad or it's really good. And trust me, to get either one of those, that shit's gotta be up there. And holy hell, this game is awful. Um, Let me start with Okay, the graphics. Let me actually no, let me start with this. There's a lot of people who are all like, "Oh, it's nothing like the PC version." Blah blah blah. Obviously not. It's not made by Chris Sawyer or Frontier, who made the previous games and whatnot. And this is in space, and it's on the 3DS. So I gave them that benefit of the doubt. I have a huge open mind. I've read in the reviews, you can't do tunnels, you can't terraform, you can't make lakes. You can't change the color of the rides, which is actually really pathetic that you're not able to. You can't even name your rides, and you can't click on guests to see their thoughts or anything like that, etc., etc. So I'm like, all right, whatever. It's not. I'm not gonna revolve the entire game around that. Just as long as the gameplay experience is fun, I'm fine with that. Okay, so I start up the game. I notice it has this really cool moving main menu thing of gameplay. So I'm like, all right, graphics look good. Gameplay, I was really worried to see how stuff was animated because I know in other theme park games around the DS and shit like that, just everything would move around so erratically. Like on theme park and the DS, when the roller coaster is like going around, it just looks really awkward and fast and whatnot. And they got all that stuff right, but it's very generic looking menu, but that's not that big of a deal. So I'm like, all right, the first thing I really want to do is build a roller coaster, and then see how many flat rides are in a game, which was my biggest concern to see how many rides are in a game. This is where they got it right. The roller coasters, there's a shit ton of variety. Right there, once I started going through the menus, I'm like, okay, this feels like Roller Coaster Tycoon, looks like Roller Coaster Tycoon. So, all right, they did that right. I'm looking at the thrill rides. Same thing goes for there. They had a whole bunch. I was surprised by how many they had. So I was impressed by that. So then it comes to, all right, well, let's actually start building my roller coaster. First thing I noticed, the interface is insanely awkward to navigate in. Nothing is actually labeled. Um, let's say because when you go to build a roller coaster, everything in the game that you tap shows up on the bottom screen. So the bottom screen on default is in let me see how to say build mode. So if you want to build a ride, you just tap the Ferris wheel icon. On the bottom, it gives you really awkward looking icons to pick thrill rides, mild rides, and gentle rides. Same with the roller coasters, etc., etc. And when you're building a roller coaster, of course, all the icons change to whatever the roller coaster builder icon is. Well, everything is really clunky to navigate through it because it's really irresponsive. At times, I'll be tapping to get a particular piece, and I have to do it a few times in order for it to register in the game, and it's really annoying.
That
And
sounds just like your experience with Mod Nation Racers on the Vita, where you had to
oh
keep.
god, yes, yes. Except to be honest, Mod Nations, it was only the responsiveness of how bad it was, but like everything else worked fine. This game, it's awful, 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 awful. The icons, when you look at them, they're just you're like, what the hell is that? What the hell is that supposed to do? So you're obviously two things are obvious here. One, they obviously want you to play through the tutorial to get that. Okay, understand that, but the game has always been pick up and play. Every theme park game I've played, which I've played every single one of them, it's you see an icon, you automatically know what it is. You see an icon with a chain lift hill. Okay, obviously to put a chain lift hill so you can start building that. That's in this one. But you want to know what the icon is for banking turns? It's not even like a banked looking piece of track or arrows pointing in either direction. No, it's a dotted circle. I fail to see how the hell that relates to baked curves, but okay. And you want to know special track segments like loops and corkscrews and stuff like that are in? They're under an icon that's a flag. What I Wouldn't it make more sense to make that icon a fucking loop or something? Um, but anyways, and then there's two separate icons for. I'm just thinking about it, I'm getting a headache. It's so retarded. There's two separate icons. One of the icons at the top is for whether you want it to turn left, right, wide right, or straight. And then the second icon is to incline, make it go up, flat, down, steep down, or if you're building a dive coaster, make it go vertical. Um, this is where the problems made themselves really evident. Past the clunky interface, I was like, okay, well, let me build a lift hill here. I'm building it. I'm like, okay, make it to a good height. They don't have height markers in the game, so you don't know how high you built your roller coaster. So whenever you're building the rest of the track, you obviously know if you made a 151-foot incline, okay, well, let me make a loop that's about, 130 feet tall. That way I know it has enough momentum to actually make it through. Nope, not even that. And whenever you feel like the loop is actually going to have enough speed, most of the time the game just decides to be like, nope, and your coaster goes rolling backwards. And you have to, it's a pain in the ass to go edit the track and stuff like that, because I know Nintendo Power mentioned in the review that just it's not even worth it. Literally, when your coaster fucks up once, you just delete it altogether, because to go back and fix things, it's impossible. Because that brings me to the other point, the track options. It's literally it's insanely restrictive. It's very your track is, let me see, I can't even really think of the word for it, but it's very, the way your roller coasters can be built is very stiff. In every roller coaster tycoon game, even in Thrillville 1, 2, and even in, well, not even the DS one, that one doesn't even exist to me, but you could do banked downward curves or upward, curves. Nope, you can't do this in this. The only way you can do any curves is if it's flat. So you can't do any downward curves or anything like that, which is out to me is absolutely critical if you're going to be making any kind of decent roller coaster. I came when I found that out, I was just like, that's a huge deal breaker for me when it comes to building roller coasters, because they all just, it literally consists of the same thing: lift hill, drop, loop or a corkscrew, make a hill, get it to turn flat, put a bank here, oh yeah, and another thing is too, helixes don't even exist. They only exist for the wooden roller coaster.
Oh wow.
And that is a huge I honestly, I in space, who I don't even know. I literally, the the blunders in this game are so bad. I really want to know if they, and the fact that this was delayed like 7 or 8 months, and this is what I got. I would not have released this shit, because
Yeah, I can see why Namco kept pushing it back. So would you say that this is the Roller Coaster Tycoon's equivalent of Thrillville off the rails for the DS?
no, not even. Wait, hold on, repeat. Did you see the DS?
Yeah, off the rails. The
You know
DS.
what? I'll be dead honest. That's actually really hard to say, because I'll say Thrillville on the DS, its interface is way better than this one. I'll say that for sure, even though I know it's annoying to go through. Um, the frame rate was better, and that brings me to the other thing. In Tycoon 3D, I literally built one roller coaster, three flat rides. I had a few paths here and there. I had like three trees. Literally, I could count them. Three trees.
That's a lot of
Um,
trees.
a burger stall. I know, right? A burger stall, a drink stall, and a restroom. And like five employees running around. The game was lagging. It wasn't like slideshow lag, but it was more than enough to be very noticeable and really annoying to hinder the experience. And I was like, in space, you're killing me here. Why? You couldn't even do the fucking roller coasters right. And then now there's lag plaguing the game when I have like three rides on the screen. What the hell? How do you mess this up? Honestly, how do you mess this up? I honestly think if this would have been something other than Roller Coaster Tycoon, reviewers wouldn't have bashed it as much. And I myself wouldn't have come in thinking, okay, well, it has the Roller Coaster Tycoon name. Yes, I can't do all this stuff that the reviewer said I can't do, but I'm pretty sure I can build decent roller coasters. Nope, they managed to fuck that up big time. And
Man,
to late, to late,
I'm just surprised that in space they've never been the greatest developer, but they have a track record of being solid. And
yep.
for them, I mean, I really got a question like how much funding did they get? I mean, it, I, I don't know. I just don't want to be like hating on it because like even good developers, will have a bad game. A lot more goes into it. Like good actors will be in a bad film because there's a lot of stuff that depends that goes on that makes a game good. And
And
I
I
and
agree.
space is a part of the blame. Like obviously, from what you've said, they could have done a lot better even if they had meager resources. But I mean, you gotta throw the blame all around, like the publisher, and it's really a sad situation because it really had a lot of potential. Like Roller Coaster Tycoon on the go, that sounds fantastic, and it's a shame that it wasn't capitalized on.
and let me tell you that if everything was done right, such as proper banking on roller coasters, if the interface issues were fixed, if um there wasn't any lag, I will tell you this game would have been perfect for me. I'm not asking too much for it. I know the 3DS can't do much. It's a portable game. I'm not expecting Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 on the go where all these other people have these piss high expectations of expecting the greatest game ever. No, that's not the kind of mindset I came in here with. I remember like when the original Thrill was released, everyone was like, "Oh, there's nothing like Roller Coaster Tycoon. It's stupid. It's stupid. It's stupid." No, because that's not really the purpose of that game. I came in there with an open mind. I loved it. I loved the sequel. I figured to myself, this is on a console or handheld. It's gonna be limited in some way because um, real-time strategy games and simulation games like this just will even suck the fastest of computers dry, if given that opportunity. And I wasn't expecting much from this. And like I said, they got the flat ride aspects right. Everything, the variety is there. It is there. They give you, of course, there's a limitation on how much stuff you can put out, which something Thrillville had. So it wasn't really that big of a deal to me. I was able before I literally just stopped playing the game because I just couldn't handle it anymore. I had like 10 flat rides, a bunch of paths all over the place, bunch of trees, few shops here and there, and one roller coaster. And let me tell you something. When you're building the roller coaster, it gives you the stupid little bar where it's like, this is how much track you have left. All right, that's fine and dandy. What it fails to tell you though is that this is how much track you have left. Period. So when you finish that roller coaster and you want to build a second one, nope. You're gonna build like 2 track segments before it says, "Oh, you can't build anymore." And you're like, "What?" But my last roller coaster was like had like 2 loops, a corkscrew, a few turns, and a drop, and you're telling me I can't put anything else on? What the hell? That defeats the purpose of this game. And that's when I just had that like flip the table moment. I was like, man, fuck this shit. This is just too much. Like it was just so many things gone wrong that I keep saying, I've come in there with an open mind, give them the benefit of the doubt, and just constantly every little thing I was like, oh well, let me do this. I got smacked in the face. Let me do that. Nope, another smack in the face. Let me do that. Game's like, nope, can't do that. I'm like, what? Who the hell was in charge of everything in this game? Because I really want to know how much they played the originals. Because even in the very first Roller Coaster Tycoon, you could do downward slopes. Why can't I do this in this? There's not even go-karts. There's no log flumes. I will say I was impressed when I saw the game would go to from day to night. It was an instant transition where the game had like a 1 second lag, and then it's like, oh, everything's black and the lights are coming on the right, and well, very minimal amount of lights and stuff are coming on the right, but it was cool. I wasn't expecting that, so I was like, okay, that's
So,
a cool
so,
thing.
so the one positive you have is it goes from day to night. Nice.
Yeah, pretty. That's the only one where I was like, oh, all right, cool. 'Cause first, literally, I thought the game froze, and I was going to be like, this is the biggest piece of shit game ever. And it was all like nighttime. At first, I was confused because like, derp, whatever, everything get dark, and I'm like, oh, cool, it goes day to night, sweet deal. And then Game continues to lag. Goes back to daytime. All right, whatever. When I deleted my roller coaster, my frames increased by half. So, but it was still slightly laggy. But um the guests in the game, they look insanely blocky. Literally, they're cubes and cylinders put together. They're animated quite nicely, though. I'll say that. Rides animated very nicely as well. The game has great sound effects. I really enjoy the music that's in it. It's just you look at it, there was so much potential there for what it could have been, so much, and it was not done. It wasn't done. And another thing that I'm playing with right now is in sandbox mode. There's actually an option in the game where you can click a theme icon and it changes everything to that theme, like including the rides and stuff like that. They change like a sci-fi theme and whatnot, which is really cool. But in sandbox mode, all that stuff is grayed out. So I don't clearly there's no research to get in the game. So I'm just like, am I missing out on something here? Am I clearly there's something I'm missing out on, right? Right. Hopefully I'll see. I'm of course gonna give the game another shot later, but it's literally proved to me that it's not the game I plan on playing past today, which is really, really, really sad. Um, this is definitely a game that if it's in a $10 bargain bin, it's a maybe so type game.
Dude,
Literally,
from what you said, I wouldn't even get it for like 5. Like,
it,
what you've, if it can't even get doing roller coasters right, and the whole focus of the game is making roller coasters,
roller coaster, seriously.
yeah, I'm good.
And and like I said, when I said I feel like I'm playing a beta, you play it. There's frame rate issues. There's response issues with the touchscreen of the UI. There's just so many problems technically wrong with the game that you would think after all this time someone would have fixed it. And like you said, obviously budgets and issues and whatnot. That's all fine and dandy, but all this stuff should have been looked at. And it's one of those things I always wonder to myself, if you're releasing a game commercially like this, which obviously it's going to fail, I'm going to tell you that right off the bat, it is going to fail because not only are the reviews coming out for it terrible, word of mouth from people like me is going to be awful when people find out it's the shit game that's not even worth $10. No one, there's no advertisements for it at all. You'd expect a
Oh,
launch
yeah.
stage trailer. Nope, there's not even a launch stage trailer.
Uh, I'm an avid gamer, of course, and I did not know the game was coming out until you shared with me in Space's photo on Facebook of them like showing off copies of the game. I had no clue it was coming out.
And you want to know what the stupider part about that is that they're like, oh, it's coming on October 16th, coming out October 16th. So yesterday when I got out of work, I got on my phone, I went to GameStop's site and I looked it up. And I looked at pick up at store option to see if it really did come out because there's obviously been so many delays with it. And it was all like no stores within a 100-mile radius. And I was like, really? Are you fucking kidding me? If this shit got delayed one more time. And so I got under Facebook and everyone else was bitching about the same thing. And I was like, oh, okay, never mind. So I called GameStop. I was like, did the pre-orders come in yet? They're like, oh, no, the system says tomorrow. So I get home and in space post on their Facebook, oh, looking for RollerCoaster Tycoon 3D? Don't worry, it's coming. Atari has confirmed to us that October 16th is the quote-unquote ship date, and you should start seeing the game in stores this weekend.
Yeah, I've had stuff like that happen to me as well with like games like The Last Story, the Wii. I had to wait like several days. I think it was 3 or 4. And yeah, it's a shame that like publishers are still having shipping and just making mistakes like that. And you think a bigger publisher like Atari, I think I said Namco earlier by mistake, that Atari, oh hell, is Atari even a big publisher now? Like,
they are, but not
when's,
very well
when's the
respected.
last time Atari has released like a notable game?
It's been a while.
Yeah, okay, yeah, never mind.
And you would think
Sorry.
one of the things that bothered me is that RollerCoaster Tycoon has been literally in dormant sleep for about 7 years now, 7, 8 years. you think, okay, this is its next big debut on the 3DS. It's gonna be the first console release, and by a another developer, and people are excited for it. And literally, this is what we get, and we get like three screenshots the whole time since the game was announced, a teaser CGI trailer, and it getting delayed like about 10 times, well, exaggeration, actually, about 3 or 4 times, I believe. And in the end, that whole time it's been delayed, they haven't even done anything to fix it. That is just really, really, really sad.
Well, I
That,
mean, I can defend them on that because it was already finished, and then it was just a publisher delay. It wasn't like, but InSpace should have just said, "Hey, we need more time," especially if it was not up to good quality. But like I've said, we don't know what was going on behind the scenes, and it's really sad. It's really disappointing that Roller Coaster Tycoon 3D just came out awful, apparently.
yeah, it really is because I loved Heroes of Ruin. I loved their DS Call of Duty games, and when I found out they're developing this, I was like, they're more than capable to be able to handle it. And for them to release this, I'm gonna tell you, there's gonna be a lot of backlash against that, which I feel bad for them because, like you said, we don't know what happened behind the scenes. So much shenanigans has been going around this title since it was first announced that
Yeah,
none of us can really
They do
say.
have a chance to redeem themselves shortly as Skylanders Giants comes out on October 19th, which is also in space developed. I think Vicarious Visions did the 3DS version of the first Skylanders, which was a good platformer, good like PS1 type platformer, fun. So I'm interested
Yeah,
to see how how they do with Skylander Giants for the 3DS if it's well received. Because I do think InSpace, while not a fantastic developer, is a solid developer that can do good games when given a budget, and they have some interesting ideas. Like Geist, while it obviously had flaws, was a very interesting game, and I'd like to see something like Geist be touched upon again, even though it didn't gain the most warm reception. But it's I think InSpace can do interesting stuff, and this
I
is interesting in all the wrong ways.
I feel like In Space is the Obsidian Entertainment of Nintendo. Like Obsidian is they're their own company, but they usually end up just picking up franchises from other companies and making sequels to them. And usually it ends up with a lukewarm response because they make changes to it that the fans aren't a fan of, or they make it better. And that's why I feel like it is with In Spaces, they were given the rights to do Call of Duty, Skylanders, and right now Roller Coaster Tycoon. They obviously fucked up on Roller Coaster Tycoon, and I really hope that doesn't really hurt them in the future when it comes to other companies being like, hey, here's RIP, you guys will fund it, you guys do whatever you want with it, and we'll release it. Which I feel like is mainly what Atari did here was, here's Roller Coaster Tycoon, make it, send it to us, and we'll publish it wherever we feel like it. So, which is really, really depressing because everyone who obviously listens to our podcast and you yourself know that I've been looking forward to this since the very first day it was announced last year, like the end of July. And this is literally the biggest disappointment since I can't even remember when, to be honest. There's been, Jesus, I think I've had some disappointments in the past years, but this one definitely, definitely takes the cake for it.
Yeah, to build upon your one point, I don't think it will have a huge impact on InSpace's ability to get licenses and get with publishers, but I really think Skylanders, because that is a big franchise now. I mean, the first Skylanders games did blockbuster numbers. So if they did a good job on Skylanders Giants, that will speak a hell of a lot more than Roller Coaster Tycoon 3D that like 20 people know.
Yeah. And, I definitely wish them the best of luck for that because, you know, I like In Space as a company. I loved Heroes of Ruin. I remember that was back when I was having like I'm really bored of my 3DS. I don't know why I have it anymore. And, I got Heroes of Ruin, and all of a sudden it was like, oh my god, this is so awesome. It makes it so worth me having my 3DS right now. And, I just don't want to see them head the way this game took on. Right now I'm actually looking at, let's see how the message boards look.
So any other Any final thoughts on Roller Coaster Tycoon 3D? Anything else that grinds your gears? Any positives other than the day-night cycle?
Yes. Definitely. Because I know one of the reviews focus on the negatives. I hate when people focus much on the negatives. So here go the positives. Um, the graphics. I personally think the graphics mixed with the animation, and what the 3DS is capable of doing is really, really, really good. There's a teensy bit of bloom on the track. Um, Tracks aren't smooth, obviously, but there's plenty of detail in there. The only thing that people might not like is that the draw distance is very finicky. If you zoom in, you'll see things start to pop up. As you zoom out, things start to pop out. As you scroll around the map with the lag and whatnot, some things might start popping. You can see things start popping out as you're scrolling away from it and popping as you go towards it. It can ruin the immersion for some people, but it really wasn't that big of a deal for me. Honestly, with the amount of polygons they use in the models and stuff like that, I don't really have too much of a problem with it. Guess, like I said, they look blocky, but to be honest, they get the job done. They walk around, they look great. Um, Music's good. It's not annoying. It works just like Roller Coaster Tycoons 3. The closer you are to the park, the more distant the music sounds. As you zoom out, the more you hear it. Um, Ride variety, fantastic. Ride variety and plant variety, they nailed it right there. Which really, it just disappoints me with the way the game ended up because they had it right there. They literally got the Roller Coaster Tycoon thing down. The game had literally twice the amount of rides that Roller Coaster Tycoon 1 had. It had so many varieties that I was actually surprised. It had the fourth dimension roller coaster, reverse shuttle, powered launches, uh, wing riders, dive coasters that actually have right before the vertical drop. Shit, I forgot what it's called, but just little hold chains right there that holds the actual vehicle before it drops it. They got all that stuff right. It's just the execution was poor in the end. Um, Building paths at first is really awkward, but when you get into, there's two ways you can do it. You can either place paths manually by tapping the option and then tapping the touchscreen, or you can click the draw option. You can draw it along the tiles on the bottom, which I found to be a lot more intuitive when you get used to it. It's kind of weird to use at first, but when you get used to it, you literally do it without thinking. And that's what I really liked because the interface works on some things, but everything else, it just was not very user friendly. Um, let's see what else. You can't terraform in a game, but when you go to sandbox mode, it gives you 6 different types of environments or quote unquote themes to pick from. And when you pick that, you pick the kind of land you want, whether you want a flat land or a land with a tiny lake in the corner with some hills in the middle and stuff like that. So you could tell they know they compromised on the terraforming aspect, but they still give you that option of, well, if you want hills and stuff so bad, we'll give the option to pick pre-made lands. For most people, I don't think that should be that big of a deal. And then, of course, overall, when you're actually not building with something or fighting with the interface to do something, whenever you scroll around your map, it feels like Roller Coaster Tycoon. You hear all the screams and the ride noises, and none of the sounds are getting cut out due to 3DS limitations. Like I know there's some games that there's too many noises going on, you can hear stuff getting cut out as new sound effects are coming up. So everything's there. It feels and sounds like Roller Coaster Tycoon. It's just everything else.
It's just the gameplay. Just a small.
Just the gameplay is awful because
little details not up to par.
And going back to the frame rate issues, I forgot to mention that if your camera is still, it runs fluid, but it's when you're scrolling around that lag kicks in and you can really feel it and see it. But whenever you have your camera set somewhere, it's fluid. There's not really much of a problem. So maybe there's a few hiccups here and there, but it's not as noticeable or annoying as you are scrolling around. But overall, if you're a diehard Roller Coaster Tycoon fan, stay far away from this. No matter how much you'll think like me, where you're like, okay, I'll give it the benefit. No, please do me the favor and don't think like that, because once you get into the game, you're gonna realize you've made a huge mistake. Now, if you're a newcomer to the series, you've never played them before, you don't know what to expect and whatnot. It's a decent bargain bin title.
Don't say
I'll
it,
give it
Julian.
that.
You just spent like the entire like 30 minutes just dissing this game, and then you're like, if you've never played it, buy it for like $10. No,
$10? Hey, pretty. Hey, I'm
a
being
bad
honest.
game is a bad game is a bad game. There's better alternatives. Go like play Thrillville off the rails for the DS.
Ew, no, that was fucking awful.
All right, so that about covers RollerCoaster Tycoon 3D out now, and it's not recommended. So thanks for watching. Peace.
Bye.